welcome to episode 234. We discuss The Stars Look Down from track 5 of Vapor Trails. And before we start, I'll introduce the panel. We have Paul, myself, Rob, we have David, and Derek. And before we really get into the meat of the song, I just want to let you guys know if you're really into the content that's here, please like and subscribe to the channel. And also, you can support us on Ko-fi. So that's a big bonus. The links are all down below in the video description, so please take advantage of that. So without further ado, let's jump on into this song. There's a lot to unpack with this tune. We'll do our best. And so we have the introduction as well as the first verse, which goes, like the fly on the wheel who says, what a lot of dust we're raising. Are you under the illusion that you're part of this scheme? Does it seem a lifetime ago you could look with pride on your world of dreams? So nice, densely packed lyrics. So what do we have to say about it?
Well, musically, the intro kicks in, it comes in really hard, all three of them playing. And we're saying off camera, this is a very angry song. And it comes in as such. Everyone's playing full force. I've watched drummers play this, and that snare takes an awful beating in this song.
Yeah.
And let's contextualize it, right? We all know it's probably been brought up many times that this album, most of the songs are about Neil's journey after incredible loss, right? And a person like Neil that always has to be in control was out of control, and those events in his life reminded him of that. And so I think that contextualizes this song and many others, the idea of being in control, but no, you're really not.
I noticed the first two lines are actually a pulled quote from inspired by Aesop's fable. Francis Bacon, he's been called the father of empiricism. He argued for the possibility of scientific knowledge based only upon inductive reasoning and careful observation of events in nature. He believed that science could be achieved by the use of a skeptical and methodical approach whereby scientists aim to avoid misleading themselves. So, yeah, strikes me as this kind of thing Neil'd be into. Essay 54 was called On of Vainglory, and the opening line is, it was prettily devised of Aesop, the fly sat upon the axle tree of the chariot wheel and said, what a dust do I raise? So are there some vain persons that whatsoever goeth alone or moveth upon greater means, if they have never so little hand in it, they think it is they that carry it. In other words, there's this little fly, and there's all this dust kicking up, and the fly's thinking, I'm doing this, I'm in control of this, when actually it's the chariot wheel going something much larger than this little insignificant being, and all these things are getting kicked up, which I also wanted to throw in, the chariot is the tarot card. Every song on Vapor Trails is represented by a tarot card, and the chariot, which I can pull up a quick graphic of, looks like that. So the chariot driver is in control. The two sphinxes are photo-negative opposites visually. So it's up to the chariot driver to keep them in control. And then, if you'll note, the stars above here in the card. So that's signifying, among other things, the vastness of the universe around it. But when it's flipped upside down, if that card, when it's played upside down, when it's played upright, it's success, ambition, determination, willpower, control, self-discipline, and focus. When it's played upside down or reversed, it's forceful, no direction, no control, powerlessness, aggression, and obstacles. So, kind of telling.
Yeah, it seems to mean that both of those things are in a kind of a dialectic in our lives, right? At the same time. And the idea that, let's read this again, like the fly on the wheel who says, what a lot of dust we're raising. Are you, human being, under the illusion that you're part of the scheme? So we're human beings, right? We're superior, we're rational, we're, you know, all of these things. But Neil says, in the big scheme of things, that maybe we're all just a fly, uh, and that's definitely something to think about. How much we're not in control of, as much as we like to think we have control. We are masters of the universe. You know, I think of Blaise Pascal, who said, yes, we human beings, we're rational, but the universe can crush us, it can kill us. It doesn't know that it does this because it's not rational. Doesn't have rationality, but we do. So it's sort of a, a check of humility
Yes.
to have this, great gift of to be able to reflect, to question, to think, to be rational, but we're not all that.
And this from the lyricist who wrote Free Will. So I am the master of my destiny. Master of destiny implies a superiority. And
Mhm.
this is a very, well, you mentioned humility. Nailed it.
Well, I'm glad you brought up free will, because permanent waves, everybody loves free will. Right? It's such a great song. We all on the exact same album, just flip the record over, entree new. Sometimes we would not choose, but we're not always free. So that dialectic has. I think I wrote a post on this on a blog once, somewhere in a land far, far away. But this whole idea that Neil is this constant tension between freedom, the voluntary, one of my favorite philosophers, Paul Ricoeur, voluntary and the involuntary. And both of those are at work all the time. And the Stoics, which Neil, I think, loved the Stoics, would say, know what you're in control of, worry about that. Know what you're not in control of, and deal with it. That's
Nice.
summation of Stoicism. And it is what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, and even just touching on the music too, the briefly, just the way the drums come in, just very heavy, sort of plodding, like very heavy steps. It sounds like he's treading heavily through what he's treading through, which is like this problem that's come up, and realizing like the humility in that situation, which you guys already pointed out, which I think was brilliant, but just that musical sort of connection between what's being presented lyrically and sung, and just the overall mood, that anger, which brings us right to the chorus of the tune, which is we have a bit of a yes. We want to say something else, Paul?
Along, just bouncing off what you said before we get to the chorus, in the two verses, the first two lines, like for the first verse, like the fly on the wheel who says what a lot of dust we're raising, is the vocals are very strong, they're doubled, there's harmony vocals in there, and then he comes in with single vocal. Are you under the illusion that you're in charge? So I love the way Getty did that. As we can talk all day about Neil and what he meant, but I wanted to make sure I gave proper shout out here musically,
Yeah.
because the first two, where it's the vantage point of who's speaking, the flyer, and the second verse, the rat, it comes in like strong harmony vocals, they're doubled, and then the next line is, "Are you sure about that?" So it's sung very,
Yeah.
I can't think of the right adjective for it, but less power behind it, but still like it's more like the narrator. Literary, I'm forgetting the literary term.
That speaks to the reality that, and I've said this before, probably many times on these episodes, that between Alex and Getty's compositions musically and Getty's vocals are perfect interpreters of Neil's lyrics. I mean, what three great guys to have come together.
And just the fact that music fits what lyrics Neil presents, it just works out. That that sort of conjunction function, for lack of a better word, it all seems to just magically come together, which is a very unique thing in any group, to have that symbiotic relationship between what they have written musically, and it just so happens to fit together. So yeah. And with that, having that been said, we launch to the chorus. which is what is the meaning of this? And the stars look down. What are you trying to do? And the stars look down. Was it something I said? And the stars look down. So repetition, yet again, we know the deal. Donna's rule. So what shall we say about this course?
One thing I noticed is we always pull the lyrics for our little cheat sheets off of the official Rush site, and the fact that "and the stars look down" is italicized. So falsetto voice, very vulnerable sounding. What is the meaning of this? And then you've got, again, doubled harmony vocals coming to, "and the stars look down." What are you trying to do? And the stars look down. So it's the same answer over and over again. This uncaring universe or higher power, or however you choose to translate it, it's like one person asks very meekly, what's the meaning of this? What are you trying to do? What, why? And what is the answer? The answer is always the same. And it's not even an answer. It's simply, "and the stars look down." Musically speaking, goosebumps. You got it. You got it.
What is the meaning of this, right? We're always looking for a meaning. How do I explain this? Why did this happen? Stars look down. There's no meaning. What are you trying to do? Again, agency, like we were just talking about, right? Stars don't care what you're trying to do, right? Was it something I said? Come on, stars. Why? This whole chorus could be summed up by the word "why," and there isn't a why. There isn't. And I mean, I think later we can find out that's actually okay that there's not a why. But when you're going through something like this, looking for a meaning, trying to do something, trying to figure out what the stars are trying to do, right? And then wondering if is it my fault? Was it something I said? And we live in a culture where when bad things happen to you, you wonder why. Is it my fault what I do? The universe must be judging me. A God must be judging me, or whatever. But in an ironic way, the absurdity and meaninglessness of this seems to say that, well, none of that really actually matters. Quit beating yourself up.
One of my favorite pop culture philosophical references pretty much of all time. For anyone who saw season 1 of True Detective, Rust Cole, the character from Matthew McConaughey, has this fantastic monologue when he's being interviewed or interrogated, and he's like, me, I, I'm so fucking important. But no, the universe doesn't care. The universe simply is.
Think of, I'm going to segue over to Black Sabbath and Volume 4, the fourth record. One of my favorite lines. I was a kid. I was like a little kid, 13, 14 years old. I'm listening to this record. And there's one line: "The world will still be turning when you're gone." It doesn't pause. It doesn't, it's just, it's still going to be turning, which kind of means grasp every moment best that you can, because every moment is what you have. It's what inspired songs like "Time Stands Still," "After Image," all those.
Popped up on my time hop today. What is the most excellent thing I can do today? Neil's quote. At this point, he sure as hell probably isn't thinking of that.
Sometimes it might be just getting out of bed.
Yeah.
But if that's the most excellent thing you can do that.
Yep.
Yeah, and keep going. Regardless, you don't stop. You never quit. That's the thing too that I always took away from this tune as it winds on. And there's a message there, like, no matter what, you keep persevering, you keep moving forward, whatever the situation, whatever the circumstance. So that's kind of one of many lessons from this tune and album. I think it's just this particular tune has, I guess, we're at a point where there's going to be a change in the mood of the sequencing of the record. So that's something that's going to be coming up. You'll hear in the next episode. But that's something that I think I was going to say something about Roll the Bones, where it was more about chance. You know, there's some I guess slight, well, I shouldn't say slight parallels, but there's definitely connections to even that record, you know. And of course, the more you go into this record, you hear, even for me, I hear like more influences from 2112, you know, the priests, you know, from the Temple of Syrinx. You know, we know what you need. We have the things that are best for you. And of course, Neil repeats that in later records with, you know, with Witch Hunt, you know, those who know what's best for us, that kind of thing. There's these overlords, so to speak, whether it's the universe or in your own scheme of your life, you have these voices, or even in your head, your unconsciousness. So,
And to go back
And
to
there's the
David's
thing,
point, there's that divergence there, or that help me, your word, not mine, dialect.
dialectic.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
where
It's
both of the
pedantic.
examples, yes, both the examples you gave, or the three examples you gave musically, Rob, all have something that, while it may be something with questionable motive, not Roll the Bones, but bringing up the priests and bringing up even a witch hunt, that there's still something that has a motive. With this, it's so expansive that either there is no motive or it's something we can't grasp. So they're going into David, please.
Well, it makes me think of the song Faithless,
Yes.
right? Because you have, like, the priest, the people in Witch Hunt, those who know what's best for us, but yet the universe that the song seems to be crying out to say, tell me what this is about. Stars look down. Now, this shit happens.
yeah,
Am I allowed to use profanity on this channel?
Yes.
we'll bleep it
Okay.
out.
Fuck. Okay. Anyway, so you get to Faithless, and that's actually what Neil ultimately says. You know, don't believe in belief, all these things. You can call me faithless, but I believe in love. And then Back to Roll the Bones goes to the chance. These themes keep coming up again and again in Neil's work, and it's so phenomenal. It's yeah, so meaningful.
I was gonna bring that up too, Ghost of a Chance, because he says, I don't believe in the stars. And now he's saying the same thing of, oh hey, the stars are watching us, almost as if it's a metaphor for God in a way.
Any higher power, exactly. I agree.
Yeah,
And
and it's,
interestingly
I
enough,
like
this
the
song
lyric.
reminded me actually of a Bad Religion song with the same kind of lyrics from Process of Belief, where he talks about trying to think of the word. Oh, the process of belief is an elixir when you're weak, but I must admit that I indulge it on the sneak. And I'm sure when Neil's going through his tragedies and going through his entire morning bicycle ride and everything, he probably indulged on that once in a while too. Hence the stars look down.
Good.
And
Good.
imagine Neil on the road on his bike, looking up at the stars. Yeah, I don't know. I just
Yeah. Especially
my
from the
mind is
Champagne
going about
Walmart.
1,000 different directions right now. I'm just
Yeah,
trying to myself.
yeah,
Yeah, like
especially.
Song for Neil Volume 3. There's actually a photo of Neil's like shadow on the vinyl. You see, and he's kind of looking down. I think Paul, you shared that on Facebook, didn't you?
Yeah,
Cool.
excellent points, guys. It's just amazing. So I guess on that note, if you have any other thoughts about this section, we'll move on to the next verse. So we have like the rat in a maze who says, "Watch me choose my own direction." Are you under the illusion the path is winding your way? Are you surprised by confusion when it leads you astray? Have you lived a lifetime today, or do you feel like you just got carried away? So yeah, that's hmm,
That same
quite
vocal structure, too. First two lines are the doubled and harmonized voices, or harmony vocals. And then, like the rat in the maze who thinks, and you think of all the experiments, Kerplunk or whoever, where, okay, if you give it something, it's going to go this way. And the rat's thinking, okay, I'm making choices. I'm choosing to turn left, even though it's the only way I can go. Which brings this whole conversation full circle.
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
And
yeah.
it's an illusion. Yeah.
Mhm.
Are you surprised by confusion when it leads you astray?
It
That's kind of a
leads.
twist in this verse, right?
Yep.
It's like, okay, here I am. I'm under the illusion, kind of the same pattern, she said, from the first verse. But then all of a sudden, my choices don't work out. Not always in control of my destiny, you know. So have you lived a lifetime today? Or do you feel you just got carried away in a vapor trail? This resonates back with some of the lyrics of Vapor Trail, I think.
And there it is again. When it leads you astray, something bigger pulling the strings or making the moves or the decisions. So, are you surprised by the confusion of figuring out that you aren't in control? But then, like you pointed out, those last two lines, have you lived a lifetime today? Or do you feel like you just got carried away, taken by something bigger or something else that's in control? So, brilliant.
Or even carried away where you did all these things thinking it's going to make a difference. You just went overboard, with trying to get some semblance and some sense out of what you're trying to make sense out of. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely interesting language that you can take either way, as Dave mentioned too,
Life is what happens when you make other plans.
That's right. Yeah. Anything you want to add to Derek, to this part?
I was gonna say, just us human beings worry so much about the why. We get so distracted, and then life just goes by. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Very well said. All right. So from this point, now we return back to the next chorus. And it goes, what is the meaning of this? And the stars look down. What are you trying to do? And the stars look down. Was it something I said? And the stars look down. Something you'd like me to do? And the stars look down. And the stars look down. So, yeah, twists and turns on this one. So, what can we say?
It's the same until we get something you'd like me to do. In other words, I have done everything I can. What is it you want of me? That age-old question. What did I do to piss you off? What did I do to deserve this? What, like we keep saying, why? Just something I can do to change this. Let's bring up Kubler-Ross's 5 stages. Now we're in bargaining. What can I do to change this? These circumstances.
Yeah.
Acceptance, hopefully, at the end.
Yeah. It's almost like, yep. You gonna say, Dave? Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just going, yep, to Paul. So
It's like, there's another expression too, like, the question you say, why me? And then someone would say, well, why not you?
Bingo.
So that's another way you can view it.
Yep.
And even like in these choruses, the way the music kind of rolls around, we have these like little sort of layers of guitar, and some of them sound backwards. So it's kind of like the musical mirroring of the lyric. It's kind of like we have this sort of backwards thinking too, like we've pointed out, so far, that this idea of control, that we have this, we have this affirmation that, okay, we have control over these things. And it's like these backward sounds come in like, no. So,
And it is very ethereal. These guitar lines, we haven't brought up Alex. These guitar lines are very ethereal, very spacious. Like the drums and the bass and the guitar to a degree, are just cranking it out. And it's at 4/4 time. When was the last time you thought of Russian 4/4 time when the song started? But when the choruses and then the eventual interlude and all that are going on, the time signature changes. It goes to halftime or whatever, slows down, and you can almost picture it just like a chaotic, or seemingly, sorry for you chaos theoreticists out there. There's fluid movement that the soundscape is painted that way through Alex's playing. Brilliant playing.
Yeah.
That's what Alex does so many times in so many songs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Tyler, you have anything to add?
No,
Pardon?
I like all the points you guys have. Spot on.
Sweet.
So have you ever heard of a book, Rush and Philosophy?
Oh, nice.
No.
Yeah.
I haven't read all of it. I've kind of picked through it there and about, but there's one essay called Free Wills and Sweet Miracles. And the author Is a Purdue University professor, Neil Florek. And I thought this was spot on as well. He says, in Peart's most focused post-tragic meditation. And I like that because in this chapter, he talks about, you know, pre-tragedy Neil and post-tragic Neil and how he deals with that ethically. You know, new experiences bring new reflections and whatnot. His post-tragic meditation on absurdity, the stars look down. There is no imperative to get busy and roll the bones. There is no hint of ethical reflection. The song hammers away at our pretensions of cosmic, overarching meaning by asking, are you under the illusion that you're part of the scheme? It also presents some deflating, unflattering analogies as humans are compared to flies and rats, being turned by unknown wheels and trapped in mazes, respectively. The chorus summarizes our utter frustration with the search for answers to our most basic inquiries. And then he quotes the chorus. But then this last paragraph, despite all of our questions, the stars communicate no response. The indifferent, absurd universe will be of no help in overcoming our ignorance of the reasons why things happen, nor will it give us any solace as we struggle through life. As many of us have asked, semi-seriously in moments of distress, what did I do to deserve this? Peart's post-tragic answer, in congruity with Roll the Bones, composed a decade earlier, is that there is no answer, and the stars look down. But, you know, ironically, the fact that there is no overarching answer that we just have to decipher and then just dutifully obey, this actually is freedom, right? The absurdity is the very basis of freedom, I think. And
once you untether yourself from the idea that you are on some predestinate course or things happen for reasons or whatever, like you said, that is very liberating. That is, if you can accept it, that is very liberating. It's like, okay.
yeah. Bertrand Russell, British philosopher, talked about liberating doubt. If you've never experienced liberating doubt, you know, where you had to work it through yourself, you know.
And that'd be the entire story of Clockwork Angels 10 years later, too, with Owen Hardy going.
Yes. Watchmaker, clearly defining everything for everybody. Excellent.
Wish them well.
That's awesome, Derry. That is the absolute perfect observation.
Put the pin in it.
At the end of the day, you got to tend your garden.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Watch me choose my own direction, you know? So whatever that is, right? Yeah.
Well, with weather like this, my plants aren't living that long, no matter how much I water them. I'm sorry.
Metaphorical. We'll keep it metaphorical and we'll all have a chance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. And then we have, moving to the next part, we have an interlude and a solo. So there was some chat before we kind of came on today about the guitar solo being backwards. And if it was just like an effect put on it to make it sound that way. My theory, not knowing, I don't have the transcription book to sort of find out specifically
Alex.
about that. What's up?
Alex.
Yeah, where's Alex?
Alex Kelly.
Yes. And it sounds like it is a backward solo with effects put on it. And he did similar stuff on Victor. I can't specifically get to a track right off the bat, but that kind of bridges over into this, because it was such a close time period between Victor and this record. And of course, with Geddy coming off of My Favorite Headache with all the bass chords. And I think even with this tune, there was a part towards the end where I think Alex was doubling Geddy's bass parts on nylon strings.
Yep.
Which kind of, I think you might have mentioned in your notes, I think, Paul, that I saw or I read it somewhere. Yep. So it could be the notes, both, I think, probably. So, and that was a nice part of the arrangement of this tune, that they really kind of had this, again, more symbiotic things. And often you hear like bass chords and nylon string guitar being played together, but it adds a nice texture to this section because it's such a light mood, and that introspective delivery of the lyric, the voice is coming over, and then the meekness of, What is the meaning of this? So I think just that textural nylon string guitar you wouldn't associate with anything heavy. So it fits perfectly into this particular scheme of this repeated chorus after the solo, which is a nice touch.
And I think that we've mentioned on previous Vapor Trails roundtables that the timing musically of all this, my favorite headache being Geddy's coming from a very melodic place. Victor, Alex is coming from a very liberating musically place and heavier playing than he'd done in the past, recent past at least. This comes together very well, and the fact, like I said, the timing in the song, where then as we start getting to the close of all this, it's like now the guitar and the bass are doubling, playing together, and it's still that same, angry, heavy everything, and the vocals going into, again, our next chorus, it reminds us again. So now that all these forces, theoretically, it's just a theory, have come together, and our protagonist is still saying, what is the meaning of this? And now everything all at once is saying, and the stars look down. So it's, we've had all these pieces coming together throughout the song. Then after the interlude and the solo, now they're all uniform coming down on our protagonist. And the protagonist is still sitting there saying, and? Which would lead us into
the last section, which is, I think they just read, the part at the end that he does 4 times, right? So we have, what is the meaning of this? And the stars look down. What are you trying to do? And the stars look down. Was it something I said? And the stars look down. Something you'd like me to do? And the stars look down, which is done 4 times in this section. So.
And then the last thing we hear, with the exception of that, again, that ethereal guitar sort of fading away. I wouldn't even say fading out. Fading away is one last, like the universe gets the last say, which is to say nothing, and the stars look down. That's the last thing we hear. It's like,
yeah.
Great way to end it. There's sometimes a debate of fade out or hard ending, and this is simply, melodically, musically, lyrically, everything comes together in this. This song gets rated fairly poorly on Reddits and threads and stuff like that. There's so much.
Reddit and TikTok, they're the authorities on everything.
Right. Thank you. Consider the source. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah. Not that we're any more authoritative, but the difference is we know we're not.
Yeah. My opinion is there is a ton to unpack here. There is a ton of thought. And the last thought I meant to make when I was talking about Victor and my favorite headache is this is one of the first songs they wrote. And it feels it. There's so much.
Oh.
Let's put it all out there. Musically, lyrically, all that. This is one of the first 4 written, I believe, for the album.
Yeah. And, if I could pick one word, it's directionless. Neil's in a place of being directionless, and he deals with that in almost every song in this record, and ultimately finds that it's going to be okay. If you're watching this and you haven't read Ghost Rider, stop what you're doing, go get Ghost Rider and read it. Mm-hmm. I was so surprised by the last couple chapters of Ghost Rider. It's like, this is actually a super hopeful book.
Yeah.
About a very tragic story. It's a great book. Everything Neil's written is great, but there it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's even a part in was it Far and Away that he talks about. I think Paul, you have mentioned it too as well, in your notes about how he was kind of coming to terms with where he was at that point.
When they were remixing, when they were looking at the remix. He said, I looked back at that and thought there's a lot of anger and confusion there. And I'm no longer, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but, I'm no longer confused. So the anger was still there, but which is another reason I don't think a lot of these songs outside of One Little Victory and How It Is survived live sets later on. I think this is what they had to make at the time. And then, and it's nothing against the material. I just think it's too much for someone to relive over and over and over again especially as a performer, if you don't have to. When you've got X amount of years behind you, why revisit the worst or the heaviest or the most difficult or the most trying, however you want to word it?
But Neil did say, I think in Beyond the Lighted Stage, there's no way he could come back and not deal with this lyrically.
Oh, this had to be made. This album, absolutely agreed. Yeah, this had to be done. So,
Yeah. Which makes Snakes and Arrows very, very interesting if you think of it, as a post-tragic, post-Vapor Trails uh, record. Uh, we love this band for many reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, I think even just in that trail off at the very last bit of this tune kind of gives a little more, I don't know, just the way it sounds kind of twinkly, the
yeah,
way the guitar kind of fades out. It's almost like a hopeful note too, bringing in the word hope. Uh, kind of gives you that vibe a little bit. And of course, the sequence into the next song,
thank
I think
God.
works perfectly. So yeah, so we're bridging out of the really heavy
Ghost
duty.
Rider, Peaceable Kingdom, Stars Look Down. How it is.
Oh my gosh.
It almost burns out as opposed to fading out.
Right.
That's, yeah,
Good way to put it. Yeah, very nice. Almost like a
that's
death
all
metal.
I got.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
Wonderfully, beautifully exhausted.
yes, absolutely. I guess on that note, so we have a little bit of time left. We can maybe talk about briefly. Do we like the two versions of this record? Which do we prefer for this song? Do we prefer the original release or the 2013 remix? I guess for me it depends. And I got both, of course, but I like the volume of the tune from the original release. It just seems to fit the mood better. But then on the other hand, the remix is nice because there's more clarity. But I'm not too excited about the sonic delivery, So
I agree 100%. I like the original because for this song, it needs, I think more than most songs on this album, it benefited from that overdriven, the loudness or the distorted, dissonant feel. I think it needed it. That's how I take it. It's purely preference, but I like the original more. It's rare I can make it that fast.
What I like about this discussion is that it's not a matter of this versus that.
Mhm.
It's like, well, on this song,
right.
but on that song, I like, and my, when the remix first came out, I mean, I kind of like, my preference was the original. It was raunchier, it was harder and whatnot. But the remix has grown on me more and more and more. For the clarity, I think Getty's bass lines are clearer and stronger. Alex definitely, I think. But now I want to like kind of go back and listen to them both, song by song on each one, just to see. Yeah. But overall, if I had to pick, it'd be the remix. Uh, but I've got nostalgia for the original too. So
Yeah, let me be clear. This song, I choose the original. I definitely wouldn't. I have to go song by song on this one. I can't do full album choice. No, this song, I prefer the original.
Mhm. What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm all for the original too. I used to listen to the remixed version a lot, getting the vinyl and everything, but I've actually lately been on YouTube listening to the original mix because not on streaming services. And I really love the punchiness of the original mix of it.
Yeah.
And as someone who grew up listening to CDs, it doesn't bug me as much with the whole loudness wars because I'm used to everything just being cranked up anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a nice problem to have to be able to sit and pick which one, it's nice, a nice issue to deal with. I don't
More
mind.
rush is good rush.
That's right.
yeah.
Right.
And sometimes like, which one do you like better? It depends on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last couple episodes we've had have been top 10. If you can only listen to 10 songs for the rest of your life, or what songs do you prefer the live versions of over the studio? It's like, we are so lucky to have so many choices.
I could never pick. I'm glad I was not on that 10 songs episode. I couldn't have done
I
it.
mean, pick 100.
Yeah.
Oh, and we all admitted it would rotate. Probably by today, my answers would change. But yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nice. Very nice discussion today, guys. Really appreciate the panel and what we covered in this song. And I guess if you guys want to leave a comment below, but which version of this song you like more, what we just covered, the remix, the original version, please leave a comment below. And I guess on that note, again, please, if you like this content, please like and subscribe. Please support us on Ko-fi. Everything is below. You can just click on that sucker. You can go right to it and check out our merch shop as well. So that's all below as well. So
And our sponsor links, we'd like to thank our sponsors as well. Their links are in the description.
Yes, I was just about to say that. Thank you, Paul, for reiterating.
Want to make sure we got it.
Exactly. Thank you. So I guess on that note, guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will see you on the next one. Stay tuned. Thanks for being here. Ciao.
The stars look down.